Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
This time we're going to be looking at how communities can create some real positive change out there in the world.
Yeah.
We'll be focusing on the Baha'is' teachings and how they approach this,
Right.
which I know is right up your alley, right? With all your interest in how individual growth and community progress go hand in hand.
Absolutely, yeah.
So get ready, because we've got some fascinating ideas to unpack.
Okay.
Especially this whole concept of clusters and how unity can actually flourish in communities that are really diverse.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about the Baha'i teachings is how they emphasize this like dual purpose that every single person has.
Okay.
That we're all meant for our own spiritual development and at the same time contributing to making society better.
So it's not like an either-or situation.
Right.
It's not like you focus on personal growth or social action, but they're actually woven together.
Exactly. It's like this intricate back and forth between transforming ourselves on the inside and then, taking action in the world based on that.
Okay.
Like when someone goes through this inner transformation, it naturally flows into how they act and it ripples outwards, impacting their community.
Oh, I like that.
It's like dropping a pebble in a pond.
Yeah.
Those ripples can eventually build into a wave of change,
I can totally picture those ripples spreading out further and further.
Yeah.
So how does the Baha'i community actually put this into practice? I mean, I know you've got some firsthand experience with this, so
yeah.
Could you walk us through some of those core activities?
Of course, yeah. You're probably already familiar with the four main ones: study circles, children's classes, junior youth groups, and devotional gatherings.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is how each one blends together individual growth with the growth of the community as a whole.
Okay.
It's subtle but powerful.
Give me an example.
Sure. Let's take study circles, for instance. It's not just about passively sitting there and absorbing information. It's about actively engaging with these spiritual concepts together in a group.
So it's like a much more dynamic kind of book club or something.
It is, yeah, but it's even deeper than that.
Okay, what makes Baha'i study circles unique then?
Well, imagine a space where people from all different backgrounds come together, right? And they're diving deep into writings that really explore the human condition. What's our purpose? What's our relationship to the world around us?
Yeah.
It's not just theoretical, though. The focus is on applying these principles to our everyday lives, having really meaningful conversations, and supporting each other as we grow.
So it's more than just
It is.
like an intellectual exercise. It becomes a shared experience.
Absolutely. It's that shared journey of learning and application that strengthens both the individual and the whole community.
It's amazing how that ripples outward, huh? And this focus on growth starts young too, right?
Who does?
What's the idea behind having children's classes and junior youth groups?
Well, it's all about nurturing that seed of potential within each child from a really young age.
Yeah.
But not in isolation, right?
Right.
Children's classes, for instance, they emphasize developing a strong moral character, learning about spiritual virtues, helping children develop empathy and a sense of responsibility for the world around them.
So it's giving them that foundation of good character.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the junior youth groups, which are particularly fascinating, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They empower young people to actually see themselves as agents of change.
Wow.
To realize that they're capable of contributing to their communities right now.
So it's not just about building character. It's about equipping them to participate in community life.
Yes, it's very proactive.
Absolutely. And so like recognizing that everyone has the capacity to contribute no matter their age.
Exactly, no matter how young or old you are.
Now, we've been talking a lot about this idea of unity. But in the real world, we all know that there's tons of different cultures and beliefs out there.
Right.
How did the Baha'i teachings navigate all of that diversity?
Well, that's where this core principle of the oneness of humanity comes in.
Okay.
It's a pretty radical concept when you think about it. It's about celebrating diversity as a strength, not a weakness.
Okay.
Recognizing that we're all part of one big human family, connected to each other and dependent on each other.
It sounds lovely in theory.
It does.
But how does that actually work in a world where we've got language barriers and prejudice and social inequalities everywhere.
You're right. Those are huge challenges.
Yeah.
And the Baha'i teachings don't pretend they don't exist. They encourage us to engage in open and honest dialogue, recognizing that building unity requires a conscious effort to overcome those obstacles. It's about creating spaces where every single person feels valued and heard, no matter their background. And a crucial part of that is this concept of consultation.
Oh, consultation. Now, I'm curious, how does consultation help bridge those divides?
Well, think of consultation as a collaborative process where every voice carries equal weight.
Okay.
Imagine a community facing a complex issue, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using a top-down approach or letting the loudest people dominate, consultation creates a space for respectful dialogue, active listening, and finding solutions that benefit everyone.
So it's more about moving away from that winner-takes-all mentality.
Exactly.
And moving towards something that values everyone's input.
It is. It's a shift towards a more collaborative and inclusive way of making decisions and tackling those challenges together.
This is fascinating, and I'm starting to see how consultation could be this powerful tool for building unity, especially in diverse settings. But how does the Baha'i community approach growth and expansion on a larger scale?
Well, that's where the concept of clusters comes into play.
Okay.
Essentially, a cluster is a specific geographic area where the community coordinates its efforts to intensify these core activities and expand its reach.
So it's like taking all that individual and collective growth
It is.
that we've been talking about and weaving it into the fabric of a bigger geographic area.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's really neat about the cluster approach is that it's not rigid. It's designed to be flexible, adaptable to the specific needs and context of each community.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all
Not at all.
model.
Nope.
Okay. I'm getting the big picture now. But help me understand the nuts and bolts of it.
Sure.
How does this cluster framework actually work in practice?
Well, there are 3 key elements that drive the framework: reflection meetings, learning in action, and support structure. Each of these plays a crucial role in that dynamic process of building community within a cluster.
Okay, break those down for me.
Right.
What happens in these reflection meetings?
Basically, they're regular check-ins where community members come together to discuss their experiences, share insights, and brainstorm new ideas.
So it's not just about following some preset plan blindly.
Right.
There's a built-in process for actually pausing, reflecting, and adjusting course based on what's working or not.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's where learning in action comes in.
Okay.
It's that cyclical process of trying out ideas, seeing how they play out in the real world, and then reflecting on the outcomes together, consulting with each other, and refining our approach based on what we've learned.
So it's dynamic, it's iterative.
It is.
It's constantly evolving. I like that.
Yes.
But what about support structures? Who's there to kind of guide and support the community through all of this?
Well, there's a network of individuals and institutions, such as auxiliary board members, cluster agencies, and tutors who provide guidance, mentorship, and resources to help sustain these community-building efforts over the long term.
Now, that paints a pretty clear picture.
Good.
But you know me, I always love concrete examples.
Of course.
Can you give me a real-world example of how this cluster framework plays out?
Let's say there's a cluster in a rural area that's having trouble engaging young people.
Okay.
They decide to start a junior youth group program. They start small, observe how things unfold. Then they discuss those observations in their reflection meetings.
Okay.
They consult with each other, with folks who have more experience, and gradually expand the program, adapting it to fit the specific needs and cultural context of their community.
Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
It's about starting small, learning, adapting, and growing in a way that resonates with the community itself.
And what I love about this is it's not limited to just a select few. Every single person has a role to play in how this cluster develops.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Whether you're facilitating a study circle,
Right.
hosting a devotional gathering, or just showing up and participating.
Yeah.
You're contributing to that collective growth of the whole community.
Exactly.
It's so empowering because it shifts the perspective from waiting for someone else to take charge to realizing
It does.
we can all be part of this.
Absolutely. We can all be active participants in creating positive change.
And it goes beyond just addressing immediate needs, right?
It does.
The Baha'i teachings emphasize this long-term vision for a better future, which they call a spiritually vibrant civilization.
Exactly. And that's a vision worth striving for.
That's definitely got me intrigued. What does a spiritually vibrant civilization even look like?
Well, it's not some far-off utopia, but it's a vision rooted in action and principle.
Okay.
Imagine a society where virtues like justice, love, and unity are not just abstract ideas, but lived realities.
So it's about moving beyond just talking about those values.
It is.
And actually embodying them in how we live and interact with each other.
Absolutely. That's at the heart of it.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But in a world that's full of systemic issues and ingrained inequalities,
Right.
how can these community-building efforts really lead to meaningful change?
You've hit on a really crucial point.
Yeah.
The Baha'i teachings acknowledge that social transformation is complex. They don't offer simple solutions, but they emphasize a process of learning and action.
Okay.
That's both grassroots and systematic.
Okay.
It's about understanding the root causes of injustice, engaging in constructive dialogue, and working patiently and persistently to build a better world, one community at a time.
So it's a multi-level approach,
It is.
addressing individual transformation as well as those systemic issues.
Exactly. It's multifaceted and recognizes that individual growth, community building, and social transformation are all interconnected.
This has been so enlightening. It's fascinating how these principles of individual transformation, building community, and unity in diversity can be applied not just within the Baha'i community,
Right.
but in society as a whole.
Absolutely. These principles are universal,
Yeah.
and they can apply anywhere people are trying to create positive change.
I'm really eager to hear more about how these principles are being put into action
Yeah.
in different contexts around the world.
Wow.
Do you have any examples that come to mind?
Certainly, the Baha'i teachings have inspired a wide range of initiatives all over the globe.
Okay.
They focus on things like social and economic development, education, environmental sustainability, and interfaith dialogue,
Wow.
just to name a few.
It's incredible. So
It is.
it sounds like it's not just about building a strong Baha'i community,
Right.
but about working towards the betterment of humanity as a whole.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The idea of service to humanity is at the very core of the Baha'i teachings. Baha'is are encouraged to see themselves as active agents of positive change, collaborating with others to address the challenges we face as a global community.
What a powerful message.
It is.
It's about actively engaging with the world around us, using our talents and resources to build a more just and flourishing society for everyone.
Exactly, and doing so with humility,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're all interconnected as part of one human family.
This conversation has been so eye-opening.
Good.
We've just scratched the surface of how the Baha'i teachings offer this holistic and practical approach to community building, social transformation, and personal growth.
There's definitely so much more to explore.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about how important individual transformation is
Yeah.
as this catalyst for social change. But how can we make sure that this transformation doesn't just become inward focused,
Okay.
but actually leads to tangible action in the world?
That's a great question. And I think a lot of us struggle with that as we try to understand our own role in creating a better world.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And the Baha'i teachings address this directly.
Okay.
They emphasize that true spiritual growth isn't just about being personally pious or focused on self-improvement. It's about translating those inner changes into actions that actually benefit society as a whole.
So again, it's about finding that balance between inner reflection and outer action.
Exactly.
Oh.
And to illustrate this point, the Baha'i writings often use the analogy of a tree.
Oh, I love a good analogy. Tell me more.
Okay, so a tree that bears fruit is seen as a symbol of true spirituality,
Okay.
just as a tree draws nourishment from the soil
Yeah.
and then produces fruit that benefits others. Our own spiritual growth should nourish our actions
Okay.
and lead to tangible contributions to the well-being of humanity.
That's a really beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
It reminds us that true spiritual growth should actually have a noticeable impact on the world around us.
It should, absolutely.
So how do we ensure our own spiritual growth is bearing fruit, so to speak? How do we bridge that gap between the inner transformation and the outward action?
The Baha'i teachings offer practical advice for this.
Okay.
One key principle is the concept of service to humanity.
You keep mentioning service to humanity. Can you unpack that a bit more for us?
Sure. Service to humanity includes a wide range of actions,
Okay.
all aimed at improving the well-being of others and contributing to a better society.
Okay.
It could include things like volunteering our time and resources, working for social justice, or advocating for positive change.
So it's about recognizing that our talents and abilities are gifts to be used for the benefit of others, not just for our own personal gain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And remembering that even small acts of kindness and service can have a ripple effect.
That's encouraging. Because it means we don't have to wait for some big moment of enlightenment to start making a difference, right? We can start where we are with what we have.
You can. Every single act of service, no matter how small, contributes to building a more just and compassionate world.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the concept of clusters, right?
Yeah.
It seems like clusters provide this framework for channeling those individual efforts into collective action.
They do.
Creating that multiplier effect where individual acts of service can have a much bigger impact.
Exactly. And the Baha'i teachings really emphasize working together, pooling our resources, and coordinating our efforts to achieve those common goals.
So it's not about individuals acting in isolation, but about finding ways to collaborate and amplify our impact through collective action.
Precisely, and that's where the power of consultation comes in again, right? By working together, sharing our ideas, and consulting with each other, we can come up with more effective and lasting solutions to the challenges facing both our communities and the world as a whole.
This has been truly inspiring.
Good.
I'm so full of hope, knowing we have practical tools and principles that we can use to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
I think it's really important to hold on to that hope, especially in the face of challenges.
Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that potential we all have to contribute to building a better world.
We all have that potential within each and every one of us.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible material so far.
It's my pleasure.
It's been so eye-opening, and I know our listeners are going to be just as inspired as I am.
I hope so.
But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I have one more question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
We've been talking about how important individual transformation is for social change, but how do we make sure it's not just an inward-looking process?
Okay.
How do we translate personal growth into concrete action out there in the world?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is.
It's something a lot of us grapple with as we try to create a better world.
Absolutely.
The Baha'i teachings offer some guidance on this.
Okay.
They stress that true spiritual growth isn't just about personal piety or self-improvement. It's about channeling those inner transformations into actions that benefit society as a whole.
So it's about finding that balance again.
It is.
Between reflecting on the inside and taking action on the outside.
Exactly.
And I think the Baha'i writings often use the analogy of a tree to illustrate this. Oh, I love analogies. Tell me more about this one.
Okay, so a tree that bears fruit is considered a symbol of genuine spirituality.
Okay.
Just like a tree draws nourishment from the soil and then produces fruit that others can enjoy, our spiritual growth should nourish our actions and result in tangible contributions to the well-being of humanity.
That's such a beautiful analogy.
It is.
It reminds us that our spiritual growth should have a real, visible impact on the world around us.
It should, yes.
So how do we make sure that our spiritual growth is bearing fruit, so to speak? How do we bridge that gap between transforming ourselves internally and taking action externally?
Well, the Baha'i teachings give us some practical suggestions.
Okay.
One of the key principles is the concept of service to humanity.
This idea of service to humanity keeps coming up.
It does.
Can you break down what it actually looks like in practice?
Sure. Service to humanity encompasses a wide range of actions that are all about improving the lives of others and contributing to a better society.
Okay.
This could involve things like volunteering our time and resources, working to promote social justice, or speaking out and advocating for positive change.
So it's about recognizing that our talents and abilities are gifts to be shared.
Yes.
Not just used for our own benefit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding that even small acts of service can have a big impact.
That's really encouraging.
It is.
Because it means we don't have to wait until we've achieved some high level of spiritual awareness to start making a difference.
Right. You can start right now.
We can begin right where we are with what we already have.
Exactly. Every act of service, no matter how small, contributes to building a more just and compassionate world.
That's a powerful thought.
It is.
And this brings us back to the clusters we talked about earlier.
It does.
They seem to provide this framework for taking all of those individual efforts and channeling them into collective action, kind of multiplying the impact of each individual act of service.
That's right. The Baha'i teachings really emphasize the importance of working together, pooling our resources, and coordinating our efforts towards shared goals.
So it's not about individual efforts happening in isolation, but about finding ways to work together and really amplify our impact.
Absolutely. And that's where consultation comes in again, right? When we collaborate, share our ideas, and consult with each other, we can find those creative, long-lasting solutions to the challenges we face in our communities and in the world.
This whole conversation has been so inspiring.
Oh, good.
I'm really filled with hope knowing that we have these practical tools and principles we can use to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
It's important to hold on to that hope, especially when things feel challenging.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we all have this potential within us to contribute to a better world.
We do. Each and every one of us has that potential.
This has been such a fascinating and encouraging deep dive.
Good.
I'm feeling so energized and empowered to start putting these principles into action.
That's wonderful to hear.
In my own life and community.
Yeah.
But we're just getting started, so stick around as we explore even more about the power of community and individual transformation.
There's so much more to come.
So much more.
So stay tuned. Yeah, it really is a journey that we're on together, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Supporting each other along the way.
Yeah, and it's encouraging to know that we're not alone in this. We have each other and these incredible principles to guide us. Speaking of which, we touched on learning in action earlier.
Yes.
And it seems so key.
It is.
To community building and social transformation.
Absolutely.
Could you remind us what that involves again?
Yeah, of course. So learning in action is all about embracing a dynamic process.
Okay.
One where we're experimenting, reflecting, and constantly adapting. It encourages us to move away from those rigid plans and embrace a more organic approach to growth.
So it's about being open to trying new things, even if we stumble a bit.
Yes.
Learning from our mistakes and continuously refining our approach based on what we're learning along the way.
Exactly. It's about nurturing a culture of learning within our communities, where it's okay to try new things, to make mistakes, and to adjust our course as we go.
Yeah. That really resonates with me. I think it takes the pressure off needing to have all the answers right away.
It does.
And encourages this spirit of humility and continuous learning.
Yeah. And it's refreshing, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
It acknowledges that social transformation is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
It's about constantly striving to learn, to grow, and to become more effective in our efforts to make a difference.
That's powerful. And this circles back to that idea that every single person has a role to play in creating a better world.
Yes.
It's empowering to realize that we don't have to wait for someone else to fix things.
Right.
We can start making a difference right now.
We can, absolutely.
Within our own communities.
The Baha'i teachings emphasize that each individual has the potential to contribute to a more just and peaceful society.
It's like every act of service, every effort towards unity, every step we take on this path of personal transformation, it's all like planting a seed.
Yes.
And with care and attention, those seeds can grow into something really transformative.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful image.
It is.
It reminds us that even amidst all the challenges we see in the world today, hope is still alive. The potential for positive change is always there.
It is.
And each of us plays a part in making that change a reality.
Now, we've talked about individual transformation as a catalyst for social change. But how do we make sure it's not just an inward-focused process?
Okay.
How do we actually translate that personal growth into tangible actions out there in the world?
That's a vital question, and one that I think many of us grapple with as we try to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
The Baha'i teachings offer guidance on this.
Okay.
They emphasize that true spiritual growth isn't just about personal piety or self-improvement.
Right.
It's about channeling those inner transformations into actions that benefit everyone.
Okay, so again, it's about finding that balance between inner reflection and outward action.
It is, exactly. And the Baha'i writings often use the analogy of a tree analogy to illustrate this point.
Oh, I love analogies. Tell me more about this one.
Well, a tree that produces fruit is seen as a symbol of true spirituality. Just as a tree draws nourishment from the soil and then produces fruit that others can enjoy, our spiritual growth should nourish our actions, leading us to make tangible contributions to the well-being of all.
That's beautiful.
It
It really drives home the point that true spiritual growth should have a visible impact on the world around us.
It should, absolutely.
So how do we make sure that our own spiritual growth is bearing fruit, so to speak? How do we bridge that gap between our inner transformations and our outward actions?
The Baha'i teachings offer some practical suggestions.
Okay.
One of the core principles is this idea of service to humanity.
We've mentioned service to humanity a few times now.
We have.
What does that actually look like in our daily lives?
Well, it encompasses a wide range of actions, all focused on improving the lives of others and working towards a better society.
Okay.
This could involve things like volunteering our time and resources, advocating for social justice, or just performing acts of kindness.
So it's about seeing our talents and abilities as gifts to be used for the benefit of others, not just for our personal gain.
Precisely.
Okay.
And recognizing that even small acts of kindness and service can make a real difference.
That's encouraging.
It
Because it means we don't need to wait until we've reached some high level of spiritual understanding to start making a positive impact.
Right. Absolutely not. You can start right now.
We can start right where we are with what we have.
Every act of service, no matter how small, contributes to creating a more just and compassionate world.
Love that. And this brings us right back to those clusters we discussed earlier.
It does.
They provide a framework for channeling individual efforts into collective action, right? Multiplying the impact of each act of service.
That's right. The Baha'i teachings really emphasize the importance of working together,
Okay.
combining our resources and coordinating our efforts.
So it's not about individuals working in isolation.
No.
It's about finding ways to collaborate and really amplify our efforts.
Absolutely. And this is where the power of consultation comes in again. By working together, sharing ideas, and consulting with each other, we can come up with those creative, long-lasting solutions to the challenges we face, both locally and globally.
It's amazing
It is.
how all of this comes together. This whole conversation has been truly inspiring.
That's wonderful to hear.
It gives me so much hope knowing that there are practical tools and principles that we can actually use to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
It's really important to hold on to that hope, especially when things feel challenging.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's about recognizing that we all have the potential to make a difference, each and every one of us.
And I'm really struck by how the Baha'i teachings offer this holistic and practical approach to community building, social transformation, and personal growth.
It's a comprehensive framework.
It really is. But before we delve deeper into that framework, I want to shift gears a bit. We've talked extensively about unity and its importance, especially in diverse settings.
We have.
But from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges to actually achieving true unity in the world today?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think one of the most significant challenges we face is the increasing polarization and division.
Okay.
You see it everywhere, in our political discourse, on social media, even within our own communities.
Yeah, it feels like
It is.
we've lost that ability to just have a respectful dialogue with people who hold different viewpoints.
I agree. It's like we're all retreating into our own echo chambers,
Right.
surrounded by people who think and believe exactly the same way we do.
Exactly.
And that makes it so much harder to bridge those divides and find common ground.
Absolutely. And then there's the challenge of overcoming all those deeply ingrained prejudices and biases.
Yes, that's a huge one.
Yeah, and they often operate on this unconscious level, which makes them even harder to address.
Right, and they can manifest in so many different ways. Racism, sexism, religious intolerance, the list goes on.
It's like they create these barriers
They do.
between people that make it so hard to see each other as equals, as members of one human family.
Exactly.
And it's not just about those individual attitudes either.
No.
We're also dealing with systemic issues that perpetuate these inequalities,
That's a crucial point.
whether it's our education systems,
Right.
our justice systems, or economic systems.
They often create barriers for certain groups while giving advantages to others.
Right, and addressing these systemic issues requires a collective effort.
It does.
Doesn't it? A willingness to examine those structures and policies that perpetuate these inequalities and to work together to create systems that are more just and equitable for everyone.
Absolutely. It's a long-term effort that requires systemic change.
And all of this really highlights the importance of education.
It does.
And raising awareness about these issues. We need to be having open and honest conversations about these challenges.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to challenge our own biases and to work to dismantle the systems that keep these divisions in place.
Education is key. It plays a vital role in fostering understanding, empathy, and a sense of our shared humanity.
It's about shifting our mindset
It is.
to one of inclusion, recognizing that every individual has inherent worth and dignity,
Yes.
no matter their background or beliefs.
Exactly. And this brings us back to that Baha'i principle of the oneness of humanity.
It is. It's such a powerful antidote to these divisions and prejudices we see in the world.
It is. It reminds us that we are all interconnected, part of one human family. And it challenges us to move beyond just tolerating each other or coexisting, to embracing a much deeper understanding of unity, one that's built on mutual respect, collaboration, and the recognition that we're all in this together.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is.
But I'm wondering, how do we move from this ideal to actually taking practical steps?
Right.
What can we do to overcome these challenges and work toward building a more unified world?
That's the key question, right? How do we put these principles into action?
Yeah.
I think it starts with personal reflection.
Okay.
Each of us needs to examine our own biases, challenge our own assumptions, and be willing to step outside of our comfort zones to connect with people who are different from us.
So it begins with taking personal responsibility
It does.
for our own growth and understanding. But it can't stop there.
It can't. We also need to create spaces for meaningful dialogue and interaction.
Okay.
We need to reach out to people who have different viewpoints, listen to them with empathy, and try to understand where they're coming from.
And this brings us back to that concept of consultation,
It does, doesn't it?
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's about creating those spaces where diverse voices can be heard and genuinely valued.
Exactly. Consultation provides a framework for having respectful conversations, working through disagreements, and finding solutions that are in everyone's best interest.
I'm also thinking about the role of education and storytelling in breaking down barriers and fostering unity.
Those are both crucial. Education, in its broadest sense, is essential for promoting understanding, empathy, and a sense of shared humanity.
Right, and storytelling has this power to connect us on a deeper level,
It does.
to break down stereotypes and prejudices, and to help us see each other as individuals, not just representatives of some group.
Exactly. When we share our stories, we create connections. We build understanding.
Yeah.
We help each other see the world through different eyes.
And it's not just about listening to other people's stories.
No,
It's also about sharing our own stories, authentically and vulnerably.
that's so important.
Yeah.
When we share our own stories, we open ourselves up to others. We invite them to do the same.
Right.
It creates space for real connection and understanding.
And I'm thinking about the role of arts and culture as well. They can be powerful tools for fostering unity.
Absolutely. Art and culture can help bridge divides and promote cross-cultural understanding.
Yeah, when we experience art from other cultures, we gain insights into different ways of seeing the world.
We do.
We can start to appreciate the incredible richness and diversity of human expression.
And it's not just about appreciating diversity. It's also about finding common ground, those universal themes and emotions that connect us all.
Exactly, no matter what culture we come from.
Whether it's music, dance, visual arts, or literature, art has this incredible ability to transcend boundaries and speak to our shared human experience.
This has been such an enriching conversation.
It has.
Building unity in a diverse world is clearly a complex process, but it's also filled with so much hope.
It is. It's a journey that requires effort, patience, and a willingness to learn and grow.
Yeah.
But it's a journey worth taking. It leads to a more just, peaceful, and harmonious world.
And it's a journey that each of us can be part of.
It is. Every single one of us.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
It's amazing how the Baha'i teachings provide such a comprehensive and practical approach to building unity and fostering social transformation.
Yeah, it's a powerful framework.
It is, but before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I have one final question for you.
All right, I'm all ears.
We've talked so much about collaboration and the importance of collective action in bringing about positive change.
We have.
But in a world that often emphasizes individualism and competition, how do we actually cultivate that spirit of collaboration and unity?
It's a great question. And you're right. We often live in a culture that prioritizes individual achievement above all else. It can make it challenging to shift our mindset towards collaboration and unity.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that change is possible.
Okay.
It starts with recognizing that we are all interconnected.
Right.
We're all part of one human family.
And that interconnectedness implies that our well-being is intertwined, doesn't it?
Exactly. When we understand that our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others, it becomes much easier to see the value in collaboration and unity.
So it's about shifting away from that me versus you mentality to a we're all in this together kind of perspective.
Exactly. And that shift can be helped along by cultivating empathy and compassion.
Okay.
When we can put ourselves in someone else's shoes, when we try to understand their experiences, we start to break down the barriers that separate us.
And there's so many ways to nurture that empathy and compassion, right?
There are.
Through engaging with diverse perspectives, hearing different stories, and actively seeking to understand those who are different from us.
Absolutely. Exposure to different viewpoints is essential for broadening our understanding and challenging our own biases.
Yeah, whether it's through travel, reading, or simply having conversations with people from different walks of life.
Yeah.
All of those experiences can help us to see the world through a wider lens.
If they cared.
And it's about stepping outside our comfort zones, isn't it?
It is.
Embracing the beautiful complexity of human experience.
And recognizing that we all have something to learn from each other. If we approach each other with humility and a willingness to learn, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and create space for genuine connection.
I'm also thinking about the role of education in fostering that spirit of collaboration.
Yes, education is so important.
Instead of solely focusing on individual achievement and competition, what if education emphasized teamwork, communication, and problem-solving skills?
I think that would be incredibly beneficial.
Right. Teaching young people how to work together effectively, how to value those diverse perspectives, and to see the benefits of collaboration.
Absolutely. Education can also play a role in fostering a sense of social responsibility.
It can, helping young people understand that they have a role in creating a better world, that their actions affect others, and that they have the power to make a difference.
Exactly. It's about nurturing a generation that's not only capable, but also eager to work together to address the world's challenges.
This conversation has been so insightful.
It has.
I'm feeling inspired by the possibilities of cultivating a spirit of collaboration and unity, even in a world that often seems to be pulling us in the opposite direction.
It's important to remember that even small actions can make a big difference.
Right, so it's not about waiting for some grand societal shift.
No.
It's about starting right now in our own lives.
Yes.
By consciously choosing to prioritize collaboration, empathy, and understanding.
Exactly. Every act of kindness, every effort to bridge a divide, every step we take to create a more inclusive and collaborative environment, all of that contributes to building a better world.
It does. And it's those individual actions multiplied across communities and societies that have the power to transform the world.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
This has been such a fascinating and encouraging deep dive.
It has been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
The pleasure's all mine. I'm feeling energized and empowered to put these principles into practice.
That's wonderful to hear.
In my own life and community.
Remember, this journey of learning and growth is ongoing.
It is.
There's always something new to discover.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions, seeking out different perspectives, and challenging yourself to grow.
Absolutely. This conversation has been so eye-opening.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm feeling this renewed sense of hope and purpose, knowing that we have the power to shape the world.
We do.
To create the kind of world we want to see.
And remember, you're not alone in this.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible material.
My pleasure.
I know our listeners are going to be just as inspired by these insights as I am.
I hope so.
And to all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights today and that you're feeling empowered to go out and create positive change in your own corner of the world.
We're all in this together.
And until next time, keep diving deep and keep searching for those nuggets of wisdom that can transform our lives and make the world a better place.
See you next time. Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How to actually bridge that gap between what we know and what we do.
It does. What kind of world would we have if everyone lived that way?
Yeah.
Trying to align their actions with those principles of unity and justice and love.
It's a powerful image, right? I think we'd see a fundamental change in everything.
Yeah.
In how we treat each other, how we approach problems, even how we think about the future.
Almost like that ripple effect,
Yeah.
but happening on a global scale.
Exactly.
Each little act of kindness, every effort to build unity, all those steps we take to grow as individuals, it all adds up to this wave of positive change.
It does, just like those ripples in a pond.
Yeah.
We might not always see the full impact of our actions.
Right. But that doesn't mean they're not important.
Mm-hmm.
Even the smallest things can have a ripple effect that extends further than we can even imagine.
That's a really encouraging thought.
It is.
Knowing that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions might feel.
Every single one of us can contribute.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how interconnected we all are.
Mm-hmm.
We're all part of this intricate web of life, and what we do affects each other, whether we realize it or not.
It's like we're all threads in this giant tapestry.
I like that.
Each thread might seem insignificant on its own, but together, they create this intricate and beautiful work of art.
A beautiful image.
It is, and it highlights how we need to appreciate both the individual and the collective.
We do.
Each of us has something special to offer, and when we come together, our collective efforts can create something truly remarkable.
Exactly. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Now, thinking about this tapestry analogy, it makes me think about diversity.
We talk a lot about unity, but real unity doesn't mean erasing our differences, does it?
No, not at all.
True unity embraces and celebrates those differences, right?
It does.
It recognizes that each of us brings unique talents, perspectives, and experiences to the table. So it's not about trying to create some kind of homogenous society where everyone thinks and acts alike.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
It's about weaving all of those diverse threads together to create a whole that's richer and more vibrant.
It's like a garden.
Well,
Imagine a garden with only one type of flower.
okay.
It might be pretty, but it wouldn't be nearly as interesting or as resilient as a garden that's full of different colors and shapes and fragrances.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really captures the beauty that comes with diversity.
It does.
And it makes me think about how we often focus on the challenges of creating unity in a diverse world,
Right.
but we rarely acknowledge the incredible opportunities that diversity offers.
That's a great point.
Diversity brings so many perspectives, ideas, and experiences
It does.
that can help us solve problems in new ways, approach challenges from different angles, and build a society that's more vibrant and resilient.
It's like having a toolbox full of different tools,
Okay.
each one with a specific purpose. And when you put them all together,
Yeah,
you can achieve so much more than you could with just one.
I love that.
And this applies to every part of our lives,
Mhm.
from our communities and workplaces to our families and friendships.
Yeah.
When we embrace diversity, we open ourselves up to a whole world of possibilities.
This whole conversation has been incredibly inspiring.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's given me this renewed appreciation for what unity and diversity can really mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just some abstract ideal.
No, it's not.
It's a powerful concept with real-world implications for how we live,
Absolutely.
how we build our communities,
Yeah.
and how we shape the world around us.
And it's important to remember that it's an ongoing process.
Right. It's not a destination we arrive at.
It's not.
It's a journey we're all on together. So it's about continuously trying to learn and grow, challenge our own biases,
Yes.
and create spaces where everyone feels welcomed and respected and valued.
Absolutely.
And it's a process that each of us has a role to play in.
Every single one of us
Every one of us.
can contribute to building a more unified and harmonious world
We can.
through what we think, what we say, and what we do.
This deep dive has been so enlightening.
Good. I'm glad to hear.
We've explored so much.
We have.
Individual transformation, building community, the power of unity, and the importance of service.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And I'm leaving with so much hope and a mind full of new ideas.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
This has been a remarkable journey, and I know our listeners are going to appreciate the wisdom you've shared today.
I hope so.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks.
We hope this conversation has inspired you and that you're feeling empowered to make a positive impact in your own part of the world.
We can all be agents of change.
Until next time, keep searching for those bits of wisdom that can transform our lives and create a better world for everyone.
Keep learning and growing.